Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiots here. Sunday morning, Sunday report. We're going to do a special report on the death of dynasties in the NBA. Yeah. I mean, actually, the question is, are dynasties going to be dead in the NBA now going forward in the league of parity with the new salary cap system? Well, it's kind of yes, but kind of no. That's the way I look at it. I've thought a lot about this, like the tinkering of the NBA by Adam Silver in the last 5, 6 years, 7 years. Honestly, he's been improving the league and it's getting it out of the mud. It's not like what he's doing, I think, is what has been a problem. I think that things like the play-in tournament, the in-season tournament, some of the decisions he's made have actually been really good and they've actually really worked. And I think that you could say that about his idea for the salary cap system and what they're doing in the NBA is actually working really well. Because this is the thing, the NBA is strongest when all 30 teams have the ability to compete. And, the NBA of about 10, 15 years ago was not like that. It really wasn't. There was a emphasis on superstars, and there was a whole trend going on that was set by Boston and Miami of trying to get three superstars on your team to win. And during that era, it was really like a very, very unequal because, most of the teams are not going to be able to get three superstars on their team. You had to be a big market. You had to have a crazy, you had to have an owner that was willing to spend on very big names and then you had to have the willingness of the big names to want to come to your market. So it really wasn't fair. It really wasn't fair at all. And in some ways, the league was in trouble. The things that could have happened to the NBA at that time is if it had gone more in the direction of the superstar model and the way it was going, you would have seen teams fold. You wouldn't have seen an expansion that's preeminently happening. Instead of having 30 teams in the league, you'd start to get closer to 20 teams in the league, because financially, these teams would drag on the rest of the league, the teams that are just the have-nots. And, that's not healthy. That's not healthy for the league. You want all the teams in your league to be healthy economically, get with ticket sales and merchandise sales, and a healthy fan base that actually comes and supports it. Now, there's teams in this league that have, not very good fan bases. And it's not really the fault of the fans. It's because the teams have been shitty for like a century, half century. 50 years of Washington Bullets / Wizards basketball has not been kind or nice or fun to watch. And this is the thing. Adam Silver saw the monotony of a Cleveland Cavaliers versus Golden State Warriors final during the 2010s, and it was just going nowhere, and it was ruining his product. As much as some people, I don't know who enjoyed this, but Warriors versus Cavs every year, Steph versus LeBron for like 4 straight years in the playoffs. Nah, people weren't really into that. It was really kind of getting boring. It was like watching the same rerun over and over again of Miami Vice. It's like, why would you want to watch a different episode of Miami Vice? Well, this is what it is. So drastic things were done, and they really worked. They really, really worked. This league now has parity. And that basically, if you don't know what the word parity means an equal chance for everybody to compete and try and win. And the NFL has done a good job with parity in the last 15 years or so. Some ways the NBA could rip off the NFL on parity. Parity is good for sports because it's good for all the franchises to be healthy and for fan bases to believe, well, my team has a chance. They have a chance to win. Because if you don't feel like your team has a chance to win, why would you support them? Why would you go to the games? Why would you spend money on that product? That's the flaw in the whole idea of the superstar system is you may think you're gaining a lot of people from the big superstars like LeBron and Steph Curry and their success, but you're really kind of hurting a lot of corners and areas around the league in that kind of system. So I like what Adam Silver's done. In some ways, we could be like baseball and just let teams spend through the wazoo to win. Because that's what the that's the MLB at this point. You have to spend to win. You can pay to win. It's just like video games. You can play video games online with the free version, but if you want to really get the extra stuff, they want you to spend money, and you can buy stuff in the game. And then all of a sudden, you can like be dominant in the game just because you spent some money. That's the way the MLB is. You can look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are throwing huge amounts of money into their franchise. And well, with things like Otani and other top notch stars, they can basically buy World Series wins. And is that fun? Is that interesting? Not to me. That's why I don't respect baseball to a degree, is because you pay to win. And, video games are like that too. It's a model. You can have the free parts that you can play, but if you really want the extra good stuff, you're going to have to pay some money to get it. NHL, the same kind of thing. They're kind of closer to MLB than the NFL and the NBA at this point. I mean, we see a repeat with Florida. There definitely is a league of haves and have-nots with the NHL. And it's no wonder that the same teams end up getting really far in the NHL playoffs every year. Because in some ways, once again, it's about stacking talent and maybe paying to win to an extent. The NBA used to be pay to win. It used to be pay to win, but it's not anymore. And the great thing about it is now is the NBA has made your salary cap and your roster a puzzle piece. Before you could have excess and waste and all kinds of stuff on your roster, and you could still win. You could have DeMarcus Cousins that doesn't play and just sits on the end of the court, Warriors and stuff like that. But that's the thing. In some ways, they want to get rid of that kind of stuff. In some ways, it's like just because New York has all the money in the world doesn't mean they should win all the championships, because that's the way of the MLB. It really is. But the NBA don't want that, and that's why it's cool that like two smaller market teams were in the finals this year with the Thunder and the Pacers. That's why it's cool that this NBA season this past year wasn't just the top records and teams getting to the end. I mean, the top record did win in the end, but Boston and Cleveland did not get successful through the Eastern Conference. So it's a very cool thing, because with parity and equality of all teams being able to have an equal chance to win, you don't know what's going to happen. And that's the thing that's beautiful about it. The NFL is a similar kind of thing. I know that Chiefs have kind of been winning a lot more than they should in recent years, but for the most part, there's parity in the NFL. And every year, there's at least 10 teams that have a real shot that win the Super Bowl and get to that far. Sometimes at that point, it has to do with luck, with injuries, and maybe your opponent and your schedule and how they're doing. And, those kind of things can get you far. And all of a sudden, an Indiana Pacers team is in the finals. That's great, because we want unpredictability. I think that the biggest indictment of the 2010s for the NBA was that it was too predictable with the Warriors and the Cavs and LeBron and Steph. It was way too predictable and annoying. And people were stopping to watch, whether it's like you weren't drawing new fans in to watch it. And old fans that were used to something that they used to watch for most of their life in the NBA was gone. So it's weird. We've seen a trend now that there's a new NBA champion ever since the Raptors won the championship in 2019. And I'd say that's not a bad thing. I mean, share the wealth, Bucks, Nuggets, Celtics, Warriors, Thunder, us, Lakers. These are all different teams that won the championship in the last 7 years. And, everybody gets a little bit of a chance to celebrate. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, where does this stand with a thing like the Thunder right now? Will they be able to be like the Bulls of the 90s and do 2 3-peats? I don't see it being likely. I don't. I mean, the cover picture for this stream is the Bulls holding 5 championships, and they still got one more after that. One for each of them to hold it in the picture. Dennis Rodman, Ron Harper Sr., Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, and Michael Jordan. That's amazing. And in some ways, what that is more, because like back in the day, it was about players dominating the league, whether it's George Mikan in the very, very beginning, Bill Russell in the 60s, Wilt Chamberlain for a bit in there, Michael Jordan in the late 80s into the 90s. There's been dominant players in the league, Shaq, LeBron, that kind of, funnel championships towards themselves. Well, I say that that's something that may not be so easy anymore because you can't just win relying on one super supreme talent like Michael Jordan anymore. Michael had Scotty. Michael had Dennis for some of it too. And, you have to be able to have a winning team with that really, really top notch dominant player to win. You could have a dominant player and they never win anything. Like Jerry West was a very dominant, good player, but he only won one championship. It's an interesting thing. And well, I think that something like the Bulls two three-peats in the 90s is not going to happen again. I don't think that something's going to happen like the Warriors in the 2010s either, where they got a string of championships. Now, the only way this does happen, and the way I look at it, is that these dynasties that are possible in the future will have to be more like the Spurs dynasty of 99 to 2015, where they won 5 championships spread out over years and years. There was a period of time in the mid 2000s where the Spurs were winning every other year. It was like they won every odd year. They won like 2007, 2009, stuff like that. And, that was a weird thing because in some ways they would like have to reload. They'd be really top notch with Parker and Duncan and Ginobili, but then like they'd win one year and the next year they were off. Maybe it was somewhat injury problems. Maybe it just wasn't their year. But then they come back around the next year and compete again and go for it. I think that that's the way it's going to work now. There won't be as many repeats or three-peats, but there could be like a championship every 2 or 3 years for certain franchises. But the way that they're going to have to go about doing it is they're going to have to really be masters of the salary cap and bringing in and out talent in a smart, economical way that will fit with the new rules of the salary cap and the parity that it produces. Now, this is the interesting thing. In recent championships with the Nuggets, the Celtics, and even these Thunder that just won, we're going to see the team pieces get taken away. Like, I am shocked at just how much the Celtics are blowing up their championship core from just 2 years ago. They have not been champions for that long. They were champions just like the year before this year. And they're already busting up that core. Now, when the Celtics won last year, everybody said, oh, they're going to dominate. They're going to be the champions over and over again. It's the same thing they do every year when a team wins. The Nuggets are going to be repeating because they're obviously the top team. Well, what happened to the Nuggets? They got stripped. That's what happens. You win a championship, other teams look at your squad and they say, wow, that guy's really good, Bruce Brown. I'd love to get him on my team. Wow, that assistant coach is really good. Let's go get him. And he could be our head coach, even though he's the number one assistant for that team that just won the championship. So as soon as you win, your pieces get more attractive. They go up in price, and it's harder to keep them together under the salary cap. And we're seeing this with the Celtics this summer in a major way. Sure, maybe if Jason Tatum wasn't so hurt, the Celtics would invest more money this summer to try and keep them together. And that may be part of the reason why. But no, they see that Tatum's going to be out. And in some ways, the Celtics are always showing they're going to try and tank this year on purpose, that they won't be trying to go out and win all these games because in some ways they're looking at a draft pick next spring already. Like I can say that right now in the middle of July, just at the start of Summer League, that the Celtics are already showing their hand of their poker hand that they're going to tank next year on purpose to try and get a very shitty record and a good draft pick next year. Because they realize that the best way to be better now is through talented youth that you can pay cheap and that you can get further in that way. So, yeah, they're shedding salary. Porzingis gone. Drew Holiday gone. And there may be another guy going still from that core. Al Horford's gone. Cornette is gone. That team is getting dismantled. And why? Because 2 years ago, they said the Celtics were supposed to be a new franchise dynasty and to win. They were just destined to win this past year, but the Thunder won and they had more to come. Celtics fans thought they were getting a three-peat the way they were acting last year after they won the championship. So why, out of all the teams in this league, the Celtics, the front office of the NBA would be like, yeah, we want to keep the Celtics strong and good, but they can't. They can't artificially do this under the new system, and that's why I love it. Is because the rules that we have to play by, everybody's got to play by, and that's only fair. I felt like the Warriors were getting such special consideration throughout the 2010s with their salaries and retaining their core that whole entire time, whether it was the ownership spending to keep it, or whether it was the NBA not coming at them with trade rumors or trying to pry them apart. That's another part of it is that the NBA, if they don't like your team to be near the top, they will come and pry people away, like Miles Turner to the Milwaukee Bucks recently. Yeah. They'll come and pry people away if they don't like the idea of you being a champion again, Kawhi Leonard going to the Clippers. So, but in this league of parity and equality, the Celtics will get their people pried away, and the Nuggets got their people pried away. Could it be that the Nuggets are requiring Bruce Brown this summer and other players and trading out Michael Porter Jr. and getting Cameron Johnson, that they may be striking for another championship now, and that they have a weird couple of years apart dynasty they're building? Maybe. Could Oklahoma City Thunder repeat this year? Yeah, maybe. If they have good health and things line up for them exactly right, maybe they could repeat. They're a special case because in some ways they're one of the youngest teams to ever win a championship, and most of their team is under their rookie contracts, so they can be cheap and very good at very young. In some ways, that kind of success is going to be tried to be mimicked by a lot of front offices in their future. The Raptors are already doing it. Think about our very vast rookie class from last year, and think about the overall age of our team and how much that is a part of it right there. You want to derive the gains on your team from young players striving and achieving and getting better and improving immensely. People like Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes, Jamal Shed. These guys can all make jumps in their games, and as a group, if they make jumps to individually, they all add up and they make a jump as a group. And that's what the Thunder did. The Thunder kind of jumped as a group, even as a young group, and they went and got that trophy behind me. So it's a weird situation. In some ways, the NBA has limited the ability to retain your championship core after you win it. Because once again, the vultures come and strip the parts off of you from other teams. They want to get this person. They want to get this assistant coach. You don't have the same quality of level that you built up to get to the chip. And it's harder to repeat after that. And like I said, nobody's immune. The Celtics are feeling it right now, and it's fantastic. And that's why the window to get championships with the core is really small now. It used to be that you could have like maybe a 10-year period where you could run people like the Warriors have been afforded to, that luxury of Draymond, Steph, and Clay being together for so long. It's not like that anymore. That has shrunk majorly. And now a championship core window may be only like 2 or 3 years. It's really shrunk. Like it's not even half at this point. It's so small. And it's partly because of the salary cap and the parity stuff. And it's fantastic. I love it because I don't want to know who's going to win the championship next year right now. No, y'all can tell me Oklahoma City is going to repeat, but I don't believe you. Just like I didn't believe you when you told me that Boston would repeat last year. Why? It's so hard to repeat. Like I said, everybody's gunning for you. In some ways, you have to have 2 years of good luck with injuries. And that's rare in the NBA these days. Injuries are a big part of what derails teams. And, it could take just one very important injury to the Thunder, and that ruins their ability to win a championship next year. So there's a lot to it. And in some ways, just like the Raptors of 2019, you have to be in the right place at the right time, and the right things have to go down in a certain way for you to get there. And that's just how it is. I like this league better. I do. I feel like this league and what I've described on this stream so far is much more like the league that I watched as a child and in my teen years that I loved so much. I feel like the NBA went astray once Vince Carter showed up and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. And it kind of went somewhere wrong in the last 25 years. But I feel like it's finding its way back to what it should be in these rules. So my report today is not indictive or derisive. It is supportive of what the changes are. I'm very happy about it because in some ways this system, and if it's equal and everybody's going to feel like the Celtics are right now, that means the Raptors have a better chance to win just like everybody else. So, it may have been harder. This may be the part of the reason why people say, oh, the Raptors will never win a championship for that superstar period of time. Yeah, because in that system, it'd be really, really hard to get three top-notch superstars to come here like a South Beach decision in Miami with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James. Yeah, we can't compete in that kind of system, a three superstar system. How the hell are we going to get three superstars up here in Toronto? That's why this is way better the way the league is now. Because I like I said, I just got sick of it. It's like, yeah, it's great accomplishment that LeBron's been in the finals for like a decade in a row, but it's also really fucking boring, honestly, if you think about it. You get a different two teams in the finals every year. That's going to be more variety, more fun, and more fan bases will get activated and agitated and excited and stimulated for economics. And Adam Silver realizes that. So these are good changes. In some ways, I've been very, very critical of Adam Silver and some of the job he's done as NBA commissioner. But this is one area where I think he's done outstanding. I think that he's done outstanding in getting the NBA through the pandemic and some of the really crazy, weird things that have happened in recent years. But I also think he's been very good at changing some of the rules to make the league better. He's not afraid to tinker with stuff. He hasn't gotten the All-Star game right yet, but he's going to continue to try and fix that. But I do really think the play-in tournament has been very, very good. And the in-season tournament's not totally right yet. But the salary cap and the aprons, that's been a good thing. Some people may complain about it, and some people may be, oh, I hate this stuff. And they're like, wow, I just wish my team could just spend out the wazoo and get all the good players in the league and just win that way. Well, I'm glad that your team can't do that. Because honestly, in a world of haves and have-nots, the socialism of the NBA is very good. Let's just put it that way. And the fact that it's not going to be any long-standing teams that build dynasties where they just win the championship over and over again for like the whole decade, like the Celtics did in the '60s. That's a good thing too. Trust me. And having a different champion every year for 7 years now is a good thing. So I'm happy about it because next year the team's gonna win. There's gonna have a different balance of team connection. Good luck with the injuries. Some good luck maybe with some of the times when they hit other teams in the league as far as whether they're up or down. Different things happen in the playoffs with runs and strategy and stuff. This is all the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be on paper we've got LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and this person on the Cavs, and we're just going to get to the finals because this is who we got. Yeah, we don't want that kind of league where we're looking at rosters on paper at the beginning of the season and penciling in who's in the finals. That's not good. You want the wild cardness. You want the randomness. You want the Pacers versus the Thunder. You want what the NFL has, where a lot of different fan bases can get really into it because they feel like they have a real chance. And that's why I'm very, very happy with these changes. This is nothing about what I'm saying today is bad about it. I think this is absolutely good changes because seriously, we have a better chance to compete and win as the Raptors under this system. In some ways, we have advantages because we have Bobby Webster. Bobby Webster is a genius with salary cap stuff. And, this is really something you need to be good at to be successful in the league now is you have to be a salary cap whiz. You have to kind of know all the exceptions and all the possibilities and really kind of get creative. And also, kind of understand trends with players and them getting better on their schedules and, value for what you're paying them and, kind of switching things out, switching things around. Well, I feel very confident even in the post-Masai era with Bobby Webster, a salary cap expert in this terrain that the NBA is now, whereas this is such an important thing to be able to do is to balance your team correctly with the new rules and the aprons and stuff like that. Sure, you can spend and go into the tax, and do all kinds of stuff in the new NBA, but you get penalized. You don't get a lot of the benefits that some of the other teams are that aren't spending so much. So it's really, really a good thing in a lot of ways. All right, let's check in with the chat. I've kind of done my spiel on, why this is a good thing. I think the dynasties can still happen. I think that they're going to happen more like the Spurs dynasty, and they may be a little bit more spread apart. You guys consider the Warriors' last championship as part of the dynasty of the 2010s? Yeah, you should, because Draymond and Steph were on both teams, and that's part of it right there. So yeah, I mean that is part of that dynasty, even though the last championship was delayed after the other ones. But that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be like you just rise up and win the championship 3 years in a row like the Bulls did in the 90s. It's going to be more like you win and you may not win the next year, but you may win the year after that. And some of that is reloading your roster with good young talent. You may want to look at how the Spurs used to do things as far as how they stayed a playoff team for so long in a row. And they never had any rebuild or drop off where they kind of had to, all right, we hit our peak with our team right now. But a lot of that's the testament to Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker for being loyal to that franchise and taking pay cuts and sticking around. So it's that kind of stuff. All right, let's see what y'all are saying. If you have any comments on what I'm talking about today, please write them into the chat. It's a two-way street here on the Raptor Freak stream. Trevor's saying, disrespect will close doors that apologies cannot open. Be careful how you treat people you think you do not need. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough. You really got to be nice to people and just try and give them the benefit of the doubt and try and, not be so abrasive. It's tough sometimes. I know this guy has a hard time with it sometimes. But I appreciate you, Trevor, with your words of wisdom. And I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Trevor's also saying yesterday in California Classic Summer League, Jazz versus Philadelphia, rookies on the Jazz, Kyle Filipowski, 22 points. He's not a rookie of Philadelphia rookies. I don't know exactly what you meant there. But yeah, Filipowski played last year. Bryce Sensabaugh, 19 points, also not a rookie. And Ace Bailey got 8 points on the Jazz. Yeah, Ace Bailey shooting 3 for 10 and not looking totally right for them, a little shaky. But they're players from last year. Kyle Filipowski seems like he's still pissed off that he got drafted in the second round. And Bryce Sensabaugh is an interesting player who still maybe got some coming. But the big story in this game was VJ Edgecombe, who in a losing effort got a double-double, 28 points, 10 rebounds, and was balling out. But they still lost. Philly still lost that game. But yeah, Edgecombe was the best player in that game. Trevor's bringing up the WNBA also. The Los Angeles Sparks beat the Indiana Fever, and the Minnesota Lynx did beat the expansion Golden State Valkyries yesterday. Yeah, good stuff. There's a few games today, guys. Also, let me see what's going on. The WNBA refs for today, Vegas at Connecticut. Randy Richardson will be the crew chief with Marcy Williams and Kelsey Reynolds. In Seattle at New York, Roy Gabien is the crew chief with Jenna Renault and Gina Cross. And the Sky are at the Lynx today, a back-to-back for Minnesota. Angelica Suffering is the crew chief. And Claire Aubrey and Biniam Maru are the other two there. Yeah. So WNBA action, get your lineup set. It's the last day of the fantasy week. Only 3 days this week to collect points. I've been doing very good this week. And Kareem, you're going down. I've doubled you up almost in points. Cool Cat and James are tied. What an amazing day this is going to be. There's only 0.2 point difference between the two of them. We'll have to see what happens there. Fiercey and JP are very close also. Fiercey's only got a 6-point lead. MK is beating Logical Raptors Fanatic. And Kaz has got a doubled up Edmund in his game too. So Trucker Kaz is on his way to a victory too. So yeah, checking in with the WNBA stuff. Guardian Transit's here. Good to see Guardian Transit, longtime Raptor freak. In this day and age, it becomes extremely difficult for teams to maintain years of success due to player cost limitations and tax implications. It is possible to win a couple. Yeah, in some ways you got to have a lot of luck for 2 years in a row, though. And that's the thing I like is like if the league is more evened out with the power and strengths of the team, that means that there'll be variance and there'll be some variety in who wins. And I like that. There's nothing wrong with that. If the Thunder win again this year coming up, well, that makes sense because they're a younger team and they were able to keep them together longer. But that's the thing, and that may be why some teams have been shunning veterans in the last couple of years. It seems like vets in this league have become sparse and not as common. And it may be that, well, their contracts are bigger, and in some ways, we want, is it now, instead of you add like you make a veteran team and you build it to a veteran team, and then you just have some rookies that help? No, in some ways, it's like you got to do the flip, like the Thunder. You have to have a lot of young players that are cheap and a few veterans that lead them around the sides. That's what it seems like at this point. Because if you're going to have a team of vets, that may be too expensive for the salary cap. And that's the interesting thing about this at this point. Yeah, Guardian Transit saying a beautiful day for golf. I think I might give the boys a few lessons on the course this afternoon, just like BB put the ball in the hole, just like BB, Bruce Brown. There you go. All right, number one top fan, Guardian Transit. Dat Canadian is here. Good to see Dat Canadian, another longtime Raptors fan. What are you saying here? Teams are actually somewhat scared of the new CBA and the effects of it, and that's honestly a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. You're going to need a Webster. You're going to need a very capable GM. If you have an inept GM that doesn't really do things right, you can really screw your team up and not make it go right. Phoenix is a really good example of this. Phoenix is all screwed up right now. There's certain teams in this league that have no idea what the hell they're doing, and they're floundering in this new system because they're just making poor decisions left and right. So in some ways, I'm sad that Masai's gone, and fuck you, Keith Pelly. Fuck you, Ed Rogers. But I have to have gratitude that we still have Bobby. And this is an area where he's absolutely top notch in this league. So this is true. And that in some ways, like, some teams are a little bit more hesitant and not as aggressive in certain ways in business in the NBA, partly because of the new system. And they have to think twice before they commit huge amounts of money to certain players in certain ways, what the implications are in a year or two now. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense right there. That's right. Kaz is here. Good morning, Lex and Rap Freak Crew. Good morning to you, Trucker Kaz. Hope you're having a great Sunday morning so far. Kaloy saying, morning, Lex and Rap Freak family. Good point. The Raptors always operated like they had a second apron even before. Now every team has it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. In some ways, you want to strike for the win, and the Pacers saw Halliburton get hurt, and they didn't decide to reinvest in Miles Turner correctly, and Miles Turner got plucked away. In some ways, it's like, wow, teams before never cared if superstars would get hurt, like Tyrese and Jason Tatum. They would just go forward and be like, yeah, well, just because they're out doesn't mean we're going to stop our run to try and win more championships. We're just going to wait for them to come back. And when they come back, we'll be okay. No, they're seeing that the point is, like, we have to fold shop somewhat a little bit because our number one superstar is not going to be available for most of the year. In some ways, this is a wash. And in some ways, well, let's lean into losing on purpose, because when that player does come back next year, maybe we'll have a better draft pick next to them, or other things happening really well. But it's a cost-cutting move. Maybe it's just like, you know what, Jason's hurt, so let's use this as an excuse to get rid of Drew and Kristaps, who are expensive in some ways. And, well, guys, sorry, Jason's hurt. We're not going to be trying to win next year. Buy Drew Holiday, buy Kristaps Porzingis, buy Al Horford. That kind of action. So it's very, very interesting stuff, man. And it's more even playing field. In the past, New York would just spend out the ass, like the Yankees, the Knicks. They could mess up and spend so much money and still be a shitty team. Well, now they can't spend all this money, and they really, if they want to compete, they have to lock down and be better at their jobs and what they're doing. Leon Rose. That's what it is right there. You got to be better at your job now, because in some ways you got to work within the parameters that are set. And it's not that easy, man. It's not that easy. That Canadian saying, if there was no salary cap, there would be zero incentive for those middle of the pack teams to make improvements, just knowing they can always be outbid. Yeah, exactly. This is part of the saying, is like, you don't want a league where you can pay to win. In some ways, it's just annoying. Like, if I was a baseball fan, I'd be really annoyed with the Dodgers. I'd be so annoyed with that, because it just doesn't seem fair. And in some ways, in this world, you want an even playing field. And just because the rich kid down the street could buy all the Star Wars figures, and That's no good, man. You need to be able to get a Star Wars figure yourself. I want Lando and Han Solo. That's right, and maybe Chewbacca. That's right. Let's see. That Canadian saying, or you need a magic crystal ball and be Nico Harrison. Yeah, that is. You know what? That's that whole thing with Luca getting traded and them getting the number one pick. That's so fishy to me. That's still so fishy to me. I don't give Nico any credit for that. I really don't. I think he's still a pariah and an idiot for trading Luca to LA. It's very fishy. This old relationship with Rob Pelinka and Kobe Bryant stuff, and it seems like he's like Trump for Putin. He's like a interior agent for another place, and he's destroying the place from within. So it's like, yeah, I'll go to the Mavs, Lakers, wink, wink, but I'll help y'all out down the road, and we'll trade you Luka Doncic because I'll be the GM. Well, it's like Trump saying, I'll destroy the United States from within for you, Vladimir, wink, wink. Yeah, it's the same shit. It's the same shit to me right there. Yeah. That Canadian saying, "Nah, what was fishy to me is when you trade Luca, raise ticket prices even before knowing you got flagged, which would be a reason to raise the prices, maybe." Well, there's not like there's any reasons to raise prices anymore. They are making money no matter what. It's more that the action is they just raise prices. They're not doing it in reaction to anything they do on the court. That's the thing. People for a couple of years now have said, why do Raptors tickets go up every year? They're not winning right now. They're not championship level like they were in 2019. They're coming back from Tampa, and they're winning 25 games this season because they can, and that's what they're going to do. They don't base on what they're going to raise the ticket prices on what they're doing with the team or whether it's attractive to come to games. They're just raising ticket prices. Do they ever put them down? No. So it's just like every single, I guess every season they raise the ticket prices, and that's kind of how it goes down. Kareem saying, I feel like Keith Pelly and Ed Rogers will place blame on Masai if the team doesn't do well, but will take all the credit if they succeed, kind of like the orange guy after Obama. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that in a lot of ways, we're not dumb. So whatever they're going to try and say about this stuff, Raptors fans are going to be on Masai's side, and they're going to understand that, if we're successful in certain ways and the fingerprints of Masai are on those particular players and them being here, that he'll get his just credit. The biggest worry I have is that these guys are going to try and destroy the legacy of Masai on the down low in different really weird, messed up ways that will be totally unnecessary. And it's only straight from the ego of Ed Rogers III and how much he doesn't like Masai. That's what I worry about the most. But you know what? Raptors fans are smart enough. We've got this channel here, and we will suss this all out, and we'll give the proper blame to the right people. And in some ways, Masai's blameless at this point because he built something. And well, if it goes really well in the next couple of years, I'll give him all the credit in the world. But if it goes downhill from here in the post Masai era, well, I blame Keith Pelly and Ed Rogers for dismissing him for us going downhill from now. Seriously, it's real easy to see. They can try and spin it with Rogers media people like Michael Grange. They can try and write the story, but we can all see what happened and understand it for ourselves. And, we'll call them out on this when this happens. I say right now, Masai's blameless. How the hell are they going to blame him? He don't work for them anymore. And everything was trending up until they told him to leave. So it's like, how the hell do they blame him? Everything was on track and everything was going positively. They had no reason to dismiss him last week. So it's like if anything goes downhill at this point going forward, well, you blame them for firing him. It's that easy. It's that easy right there. Yeah, I could see that, man. I could see that. Kareem saying we have no statues, nothing in Maple Leaf Square. I know. In some ways, that's why I was fighting for the Vince Carter statue out there because that one made the most sense to me. There's that area over there in the middle of Maple Leaf Square, away from the Leaf statues. That's on the other side of the star columns, and over to the left towards the Union Station entrance to go in there. I think they should have put a Vince Carter statue right in the middle there of him doing one of his iconic dunks. In fact, I didn't want them to retire his jersey number. I wanted 15 to be still wearing for NBA players on the Raptors. I wanted them to still be able to wear his number. In fact, to do honoring him too. It's not like necessarily because I didn't want him. It's more that I thought that the right kind of celebration for Vince would have been a very beautiful, huge statue out there on his own by himself. because in some ways, what Vince did was for Canada, not just for the Raptors team, and that he deserved to be outside. The Air Canada Carter effect was very, very important and transformative for the country of Canada with basketball. And I just felt like that made the most sense. But who knows? Maybe Masai came to them last year and said, "We don't mind the jersey retirement, but can we do something even bigger? Can we put a statue out front, like LA's got Kobe, like Chicago's got Michael? Can we put Vince outside the Toronto arena?" Maybe Ed Rogers said, "Hell no, we only put Leaf statues outside." And Brendan Shanahan saying, "Yeah, we don't put any Raptors statues out there. Fuck that. I don't even let their pictures downstairs." That kind of energy could have been behind it. I mean, I'd love to see a Raptor statue out there someday. I mean, they got all those Leaf greats over there. They're ugly ass statues over there. It's like I'd love to see a graceful, beautiful Vince Carter statue outside our arena at some point, or maybe a Kyle Lowry taking a charge statue, something like that. Kyle Lowry at the championship parade with his flip glasses and his Damon Stoudemire jersey. These are great iconic pictures of the Raptors in different ways. And you know what? I would love to see that someday, but who knows? Maybe that we'll never see that now that King Edward is in charge. We'll never, maybe not. We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. That's right. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Dat Canadian saying, "All I will say to Ed Rogers, the North remembers." Yeah. Yeah. I'm never going to let it go here. No, if every single day I'll say, "Thank you, Masai. Masai, you're a great man. Thank you for bringing culture, class, and respect to the Toronto Raptors franchise." And Ed Rogers and Keith Belly, you guys, shame on you for dismissing a man that didn't need to be dismissed. Seriously, he was adding value and bringing business to you. It's not a good business decision. You're losing money because of it. It's totally a punitive personal grudge that caused this. It's so stupid, man. The North will remember. That's right. That Canadian. That's right. Smooth's here. Good to see Reggie. Masai's legacy can't be tarnished, man. Resume speaks for itself. Yeah, in some ways he got out. Like in a weird way, he's going to have a perfect record. I know clueless idiots who hate Masai are going to say, "No, he messed up here and he messed up there." Man, I'm telling you right now, if being a GM or president of a team has a batting average, that motherfucker's like Ty Cobb. I'm just going to say that right now. Seriously. His batting average is up there. Let's just put it that way. If the batting average is hitting on decisions and them working out, yeah, he's got like a Hall of Fame batting average that's higher than most of the people that have played his position in the NBA's history, because most people fuck up decisions. I say in the old NBA, you were lucky if you hit on 1 out of 5 decisions. And meanwhile, Masai's hitting on like 4 out of 5 in his decisions. So I just say that it's like if there's a batting average for sports executives on making moves in their respective sports, Masai Ujiri's up there like Ty Cobb with one of those high ass batting averages. I'm telling you, man, right there. That's what it looks like to me right there. That's right. That's right. Isaac saying Dirk, Duncan, and Durant all took pay cuts to help their dynasty work. Perhaps they win without KD, but it takes character players willing to make sacrifice. SGA too. Man, I miss Masai already. Yeah. I mean, some would say Jalen Brunson, the latest example of this with the Knicks and what he's trying to do there. Of course, never underestimate the Knicks being close to being successful and screwing themselves up by over making moves and decisions. It's like you can't build anything if you keep destroying what you're building as you do it. And that's, I feel like, what the Knicks do over and over again. And Thibodeau is gone, and Mike Brown's coming in. Mike Brown ain't going to be better than Thibodeau. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in New York with some of the changes that they've had to make. But yeah, sacrifice. Duncan definitely made some sacrifices. Dirk too. I don't know. Kevin a little bit with the Warriors, but then when he could have continued with the dynasty with the Warriors, he got greedy. Then went to Brooklyn. So yeah, I wouldn't put Kevin on that list. Kaloy saying my biggest fear is that the new president they bring in would want a new rebuild. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm not into this idea of people coming in and being the team president. In some ways, just forget this. Y'all don't need to hire a new team president. If you really want to save some money, just leave the position vacant. You know what you do? Hire more support staff for Bobby and Dan underneath them. Yeah, and then they'll be all right. Maybe they need to, bump up Bobby to team president, and then you get Dan as a GM, and then you hire a new assistant GM, and that's what you do. And you can save money this way. Seriously, Give Bobby a bit of a raise for sure, and Dan also. But it may be way cheaper than bringing in a whole new name like a Chad Buchanan or whatever you guys are talking about. Yeah. I think that would be the smartest thing to do, because in some ways, the thing that we loved about Masai being in charge was he's solely the cook in the kitchen. It's like we can point to him and say that guy is running the Raptors. And what he decides is ultimately what happens at the end. Of course, Bobby's coming up with decisions as a GM and coming to Masai, but Masai's signing off on them and making sure that the whole big vision is clear and everything's working with each other to go to the right place. Part of the problem with a lot of sports franchises, and this is very, very, very true for the Leafs, is there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There'll be too many egos. There'll be too many people trying to influence what happens, whether it's owner, GM, president, a coach, a player. There's all kinds of different people that can try and put their fingerprints on what the team should do and trying to do stuff. At least with Masai, we knew there was one guy in charge and he had the whole vision himself. And that was confidence and trust in him that he's doing it on his full ability and his full extent of him trying all out. That's the other thing. You could have a person in charge and they are ho-hum. They don't have the passion or the care to try and compete at the highest level like Masai did. See, that's another thing I trusted him about. He wasn't half-stepping. That man was always putting it all out to get the best things for the Raptors. We could hire a new team president and they're half-assing their job and they don't really care. And that may be by design by the idiots Rodgers and Pelly. That may be by design. Yeah, we can really mess up the Raptors from within if we make a team president that's inept. Let's hire a Rob Babcock 2025. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about. And we don't need arguments at the top. We don't need nobody stepping in front of Bobby who knows what he's doing and say, no, Bobby, I'm sorry, we're not going to do this. We're going to do what I want to do because Keith Pelly has told me I'm in charge, and I'm in charge now. Oh, that's why I don't want nobody to come and be a team president. You can replace Brendan Shanahan as team president of the Leafs. You don't need to replace Masai Ujiri as team president of the Raptors then either. Seriously. Like I said before, half of him replacing Masai is just a FU to Masai saying, I can replace you. You are replaceable. But the funny thing is, you can try and replace him at Rodgers and Keith Pelly, but there's no replacing Masai. And this is the funny thing. You may illustrate the point that he is not replaceable by trying to replace him. Seriously, you idiots. That's so crazy. The truth is going to win no matter what in the end. And Masai Ujiri is the truth, motherfuckers. You go find out in the end, Ed Rodgers and Keith Pelly. The truth will win in the end because the truth is just the truth. And you can't get around it. That's right. That's right. Fiercey's here. Good morning, fam, and happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you, MJ. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Often on Sundays, MJ is with Fiercey Jr. in some basketball activity. I wonder what's going on with her Sunday today. Reggie's saying, my two picks for president would be Bobby Webster or Steve Nash. Yeah, I've gone over Steve Nash in that fit, and I don't like the idea of it. I mean, if he's a figurehead leader and he's not really going to try hands-on and do stuff, okay, maybe, but I don't know. I don't totally like this idea. My two favorite picks are Bobby Webster and Dwayne Casey. And the reason why Dwayne Casey is great to me is because he has front office work. He's a basketball mind. He's already very familiar with the Raptors organization. He's worked with Bobby Webster already. So those kind of things really are a plus. That in some ways, Dwayne Casey would be able to work with Bobby Webster very, very well. Bobby Webster, Dwayne Casey, Mark Eversley, my top three picks for team president for the Raptors. Those are my top three picks right there. Steve Nash, in some ways, once again, man, Steve Nash is a great player. He's a very intelligent, smart guy. I have so much respect in the world for Steve, but he was in over his head as a head coach, and all signs point to he would be in over his head as a team president too, guys. Let's just put it that way. In some ways, Steve is a great guy. He's a nice guy, but he's not that tough. In some ways, he could get involved in conversations and somebody could walk all over him. I mean, he's just a nice dude, man. And that's not a bad thing. Listen, but you need a pit bull to a degree. You need to be at least like, Masai was a pit bull along with being a very charming, smooth person. He could be very firm and very like, no, we're not doing that. And, I would worry about Steve it's not that he's a people pleaser, but he may be a pushover in some ways in that position that may not be healthy for the Raptors. Reggie's saying Bobby Webster, because he's been in place since Masai and has his own ideas, the two of them were not always in lockstep. Nash because of his place in Canada basketball and respect in NBA circles. Yeah, I think that Nash has respect in certain ways, but you may be shocked in some ways where he doesn't have respect. Let's just put it that way. Fiercely saying, Masai, I like it. The North will remember. Yeah, that sounds like Game of Thrones kind of speak. The North will remember Masai Ujiri getting cut down by that evil little blonde prince piece of shit that was on Game of Thrones. What was his name? I forget his name. That little motherfucker that everybody wanted to choke out. It was on Game of Thrones, that little blonde kid. Oh, man, he was annoying, man. That little piece of shit. So we're saying, although after the Brooklyn experience, would Nash want to return? That's the other thing. It's like, yeah, in some ways, it's like, look, bro, you got all the money in the world. You got a family. You got a beautiful wife. You got you could do so many things with your time. Do you really want to go in and get stressed out, headache, and that kind of thing? And that Brooklyn experience is not a pleasant experience for him. In some ways, he wants to forget ever being the Brooklyn Nets head coach. Oh, yeah, he does. In some ways, he probably does. Yeah. I know he might be the one outsider that would make the fan base really excited, in my opinion. Well, that's not what that job is for. We don't need to hire Steve Nash as team president just to excite the fan base. That's not a thing. Let's not do that. Especially if like we're getting into the whole thing of like, well, okay, we're just hiring him because he's one of the greatest Canadian basketball players ever. No, that would be like the same argument that people on this stream have made. We should not just get players because they're Canadian to come and play on our team. We need to get the best people. We need to get the best people. And they are. Some people get mad at me for saying I want more Canadians on our team. Trey Lyles, keep Chris Boucher, AJ Lawson. Yes, we got to stay. But some people will make the counter argument, Lex, we shouldn't just keep Canadians if they're not the best players, and we should try and get the best. So I would make this argument, Reggie, that this may be why you don't want Steve Nash. How much front office experience does Steve Nash have? None. We'd be better off stealing Sean Marks from the Nets than hiring Steve Nash. Sean Marks, former Raptor. But in some ways, we'd be better off doing that than hiring Steve Nash. And I don't like that idea at all. I don't want Sean Marks here. In some ways, he's not been a very good GM running the Nets in the years recently. That's all I'll say right there. Yeah. Let's see. As Reggie's saying, I don't think Rodgers wants a rebuild. They aren't going to make money with that. Yeah, I don't know what will happen. Once again, we just got to keep watching and take it step by step and see how things transpire and evolve over time. But yeah, I think that in some ways, I don't know. I don't know what they want. I don't trust them. That's the thing. I trusted Masai. I trusted Larry. But now the top is out and the ownership is King Edward and Keith Pelly's little squire boy running around for him. I don't trust that top part of the Raptors organization in the hierarchy. I don't. Before I trusted a lot all the way up because Larry Tannenbaum was the man that I trusted, and Masai Ujiri also. But that's out. And in some ways, the people that are above Bobby Webster, I don't trust them at this point. So we don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to influence this team. So we're going to have to see, man. We're going to have to see. Reggie's saying, didn't Webster fire Casey, though? That would be a weird mix. The guy Bobby fired is now his boss. I don't think that's right. I think the Masai fired Dwayne. I don't remember exactly when they switched. Either way, I don't know exactly if the GM fires the coach. I mean, we all fired him. I mean, let's take collective. The Raptors Nation fired Dwayne Casey because we indicted him to say you can't get us past a certain spot in the playoffs. So in some ways, we're all guilty of firing Dwayne Casey. I'm guilty of it. I know. And I was okay with it at the time, although it looked weird. I knew exactly why they did it. I was not shocked about Dwayne Casey getting fired. I was shocked about trading DeMar DeRozan, but I was not shocked about firing Dwayne Casey just after he won the Coach of the Year. I knew that he had hit his head on the ceiling with how he could do in the playoffs. His lack of adjustment on the fly with the Raptors in the 2010s, it hurt us finally. And even though we're up against LeBron, and that was the biggest adversary for Dwayne Casey in a lot of ways, was LeBron James. It's still, we were seeing the same kind of things where he was having trouble moving on his feet quickly with adjustments, not just in-game adjustments, but game-to-game adjustments. And that was the big problem. Dwayne Casey was stubborn, and he would not change his game plans from game to game to make adjustments from this game to that game. And that's basically why he got fired right there. And rightfully so. because in some ways he built the team up to a certain level in the playoffs, but he saw a ceiling for that. And Dwayne is smart. He has had some times to stew. He got his Casey's revenge. He coached the Pistons afterwards, and he came and kicked our ass. I was at one of the first games when he came back, and they just barely beat our ass right at the last second because his teams were really up to get us. But in the last couple of years, since Casey stepped away from actually coaching, he's been way more friendly and warm and fuzzy with us. Think about how much Dwayne Casey showed up on Raptors 30th anniversary stuff last year. Whether it's Raptors Delight, that piece of crap that was made by Sportsnet, whether it was the Open Gym episodes. Casey is a friendly alumni at this point. And much like DeMar DeRozan, he's forgiven Ujiri and the Raptors. DeMar DeRozan's completely forgiven us for what's happened. He's worked through things in therapy, and he's better for it. Honestly, you could have a grudge and hold on to that anger for the rest of your life, but he's better than that. He's gone through the therapy to figure it out and get his mental health right in regards to the trade with Kawhi. Dwayne Casey, same thing. He can see the whole picture. In some ways, he's annoyed that Nick went and got the championship the year after him. Both him and DeMar could say and make a case in some ways that we could have won the championship with them still in their places. Maybe, maybe not. I don't totally agree with either one. But, you could try to make that case, whether you're right or not. Casey's buried the hatchet. In fact, last year, there were overtures while Casey was scouting us for the Pistons that he was looking for a job, that he was not going to be with the Pistons for much longer. Maybe Troy Weaver and a couple other people around the Pistons organization were changing, and Dwayne was one of their guys. So he may very well be a free agent right now. And you know what? He's very familiar with Toronto. Once again, big part of why Dwayne quit coaching is the travel. And maybe the scouting, he still has to travel to a degree. But in some ways, going from being a scout for the Pistons to being the team president of the Toronto Raptors, that's a big leap in prestige. And in some ways, like, he wasn't the GM of the Pistons. No, he was like assistant to the GM. And he was also one of their head scouts. So this would be huge promotion. And Dwayne Casey would take it. I'm telling you right now. In some ways, he still loves the Raptors. How can he not? He spent 8 years coaching here, and he has so many memories, pound the rock. And all those playoff battles that we had with Kyle and DeMar and Jonas going against LeBron, there's Dwayne Casey was a coach. So there's no reason why Dwayne wouldn't come back and take this job unless he's older and he doesn't want to be involved and stressed out. You know what I'm saying? I could see that being the only reason. It won't be because of a grudge. It will not be because of a grudge. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Fiercely saying Steve Nash for podcasting is okay, but not in a position requiring leading and decision making. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Seriously. I think that the show he's doing with LeBron is interesting. And yeah, Steve Nash has so much more to give in other places, whether it's in guidance to mentoring young players like RJ Barrett, whether it's in politics and being socially active in like political places to give his brand and his presence help to causes. There's all kinds of different things Steve could do, and he could be perfectly happy other than this. Seriously. Wayne's here. Good to see Wayne. Morning, Raptor Freaks. Dwayne Casey or Bobby Webster. Anyone who advocates for people like Steve Nash clearly thinks like Rodgers, not understanding job responsibilities. Nash has done nothing. Yeah, I don't want to sully Nash too much, but yeah, he wouldn't be the right person for the job. He wouldn't be the right person in the job. And it's an interesting idea, and I get why it's been brought up, but I don't think it works. I don't think it works. Kaloy saying, I feel like the upcoming Raptors team will take the league by surprise and shut up all wannabe accountants critical of the Raptors salary cap situation. Yeah, I think that in some ways, this is the thing. We've paid for it in advance. And that's why it looks kind of bad to everybody. Like, look, we were a 30-win team last year. I get it. Y'all are like, why are we so high in salary? Because we haven't seen the goods show up yet. And they're coming. And that's Brandon Ingram. Notorious BI3 going to be wearing 3 for the Raptors this year. And he's going to make everybody realize that money's worth it. If he doesn't, then I'm going to skewer him. And I'm going to say, Brandon, you got to get your ass in gear. You cannot be hurt and take money from the Raptors and do stuff like that. You need to get healthy and get out there and succeed and get your NBA career back. That is the whole point. You were a former all-star. You have been hurt and you have been forgotten about. In this league, unlike Kevin Durant, who's pretty washed and pretty far in his career, you're still very young and very much in your prime. And there's a whole lot you can prove. And in some ways, we need you to show up and kick major ass and show that you deserve the contract that you're making so that these Rap Nation people will shut the fuck up. Seriously. And that's the thing. We're paying ahead, and we haven't seen Brandon yet. And we haven't seen the Ingram effect on what it's going to do for a win-loss record. And then, Raptors fans, you could determine whether this top-heavy salary cap team that the Raptors have right now is worth it or not. Because in some ways, we have a very good starting five that should be one of the top starting fives in the Eastern Conference this season. We do. We very much do. And that's what I want to see. What happens there, that's right. That's what I want to see. Let's see. Kaloy saying also the bet on barbecue, Yak, and Ingram will pay dividends. We just need to see that. And along with the young crop coming up and doing better and better, with Brandon making his debut, it's going to be awesome. We're going to see some good stuff. I want to see the Raptors win better than 500 this year. We got to be above 500 team and our record by the end of the year. So we got to get, I'm going to say right now, Raptors, I want y'all to get 45 wins this year, at least. 45. You went 30 this year. I want you to get 15 more wins than you did last year, this year, because of health and the better talent in the weekend Eastern Conference. So 45, 42 at the least, but 45 at least. And if you get to 50, hell yeah, let's go. Let's go. You get 50, man. I'm all about that. Wayne saying, I hear Darko has put remarks out there complimenting Masai. Have you heard? Bobby is an adult. I've hired a former boss of mine years after. Worked out well because he was qualified and an adult. No issue. Yeah, there won't be any issue. Dwayne Casey and Bobby Webster are probably perfectly fine. Yeah, Darko's in Athens, and he's one of the keynote speakers at a huge basketball summit there. He's teaching classes on offense, and he had an interview, and he did speak on Masai. He said that Masai Ujiri is a class act. It was shocking to him, but he understands this is a business, and these things happen. That's basically what Darko said is, yeah, he's shocked by it, but he also understands the NBA is a business and these things happen. So that's what it is right there. That's what it is right there. But it's nice to see him and Jama over in Athens being world leaders in basketball, teaching basketball to coaches from around the world at a huge basketball summit this weekend right now. And there's clips of him teaching and interviews and stuff like that. I haven't watched any of them, but I saw what he said basically in quotes. Yeah. Reggie's saying, well, you got the JV stuff right, Lex. So if you're saying Dwayne Casey, you have to take it seriously. Yeah, I think it's a nice fit. It's a safe fit. There could even be a relationship between Ed Rogers III and Dwayne Casey already. Seriously, think about it. Because Rogers has been in the ownership group a long time too. And he's familiar with a lot of these people. And in some ways, you got to schmooze King Edward a bit. And well, if Dwayne Casey knows how to play that game exactly right, well, maybe he is favored in some ways by the royal king, King Edward, as far as things. So we'll have to see how that is, seriously. Because, Casey, in some ways, he didn't do us wrong. It's just that he hit a limit on where he could go as our coach, and we had to dismiss him. And that was the right decision. That was the right decision. If you don't make that ballsy decision in analyzing it all, you may not get that 2019 championship. So, I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how this is handled. Once again, I don't think they're in a hurry. It sounded like Keith Pelly saying if it's a month or 2 months from now, whatever, we're going to figure it out. And we may ruin your long weekend then too, Raptors fans. Keith Pelly. Motherfucker. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else you guys are saying? Wayne saying Dwayne was let go by Masai. It was not for quality work. Masai explained that. Yeah. Masai, in a lot of ways, he was the leader. You can't say Bobby was the one who made the decisions. Like to trade DeMar, that was Masai who called him and told him he was traded. And he was the one who, in some ways, Bobby's doing the legwork. He's doing the calls to different GMs. He's the one that they may call if they want to suss us out for some. They're not calling Masai directly. They're calling Bobby. And then, like I said, Bobby's doing GM work. He's doing the GM stuff. But he usually comes and talks to Masai on every major decision. And they make the decision together. So it's kind of like, Masai's making sure that whatever Bobby brings him in the past, it aligns with the vision that they have for what the Raptors should be doing going in the future. And in some ways, it's like a big picture thing for Masai, and then Bobby's doing the grunt kind of GM actual duties. Does that make sense? I think that's the way the dynamic was. So in some ways, if Bobby understands what Masai's long-term vision was, because he shared it with him and they talked about it all the time, it could very well be that Bobby's able to carry out Masai's vision past him in different ways. And in that really, just like what would Jesus do? What would Messiah do? Kind of question yourself. It's like, well, what would Messiah do in this situation? Dan Tolzman. You know what Messiah would do, Bobby, because we worked with him for 12 years. Yeah, you're right. I do know what Messiah would do. So let's go ahead and do what Messiah would do right now. Boom goes the dynamite. You know, that kind of stuff. There's going to be a bit of that in certain ways. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Trevor's saying Coach Darko at the European Summit. Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. He has a very prominent keynote speaker role at that summit. Somebody that a lot of coaches from around the world are coming to see and hear speak on basketball stuff. That's very prestigious. Very, very prestigious what Darko and Jama Mahalea are doing in Athens right now. It's very, very prestigious. In fact, Jonas is there also right now. And that's why the speculation about him going to Pantheakos is happening. Seriously. I mean, guys, it's not that I try to be right all the time. It's just that I really do try and treat the tea leaves very, read them right and see what makes sense logically and what's possible. It's when things don't make sense, like the Luka trade, that I have trouble. It does not compute. That doesn't make sense at all. The Luka Doncic trade. And it's like, what the fuck is this manipulation? But yeah, Jonas wanting to go back to Lithuania or to Greece to play in Europe this year. That makes total sense to me. I mean, he's a smart guy. He can see what's happening in the United States. And in some ways, you don't want to be hanging around for mega America if it's going to be like Nazi Germany. Seriously, that's where they're going. They're going to spend way more money on incarceration. The United States already has one of the largest percentage of incarcerated populations in the world. Their rival is China, and China has horrible human rights violations left and right. Well, the U.S. does too. They very much do, especially under the era of ICE right now. And well, this new bill that came out, they're going to have one of the biggest forces against their own people in the world. Like basically, they just spent more money on ICE than the Russian army, the Chinese army to an extent. And it's going to be an army that's used on their own citizens. It's not even an army to defend them. There's going to be subjugation of a common a common American people in the United States. Seriously, it's scary, man. Because in some ways, if it's going to be like Putin, they're going to come after political opponents, not just immigrants. And that's why, in some ways, man, I might have to wipe my social media. I might have to start doing certain things. Is there going to be weird espionage where they're going to try and poison Democrats and left-leaning people like Putin would do in his country? That's the scary thing right now. In some ways, his rhetoric is getting more violent and incendiary about violence towards political opponents. And that's a scary, scary thing. Let me trust me. There's nothing free about the United States at this point. If you can't think for yourself and be free to be yourself, there's nothing about that flag that stands for freedom at this point. Not in this world today, where we're going right now. That's why the real Americans who understand American ideals and what America should stand for, they need to fight and get their country back, is basically what they're going to have to do. It's crazy, man. All right, let me keep going. Let's see. Kaloy saying, yeah, I'm warming up on the Casey as a president talk. I was hesitant at first. Yeah, no, I trust Case. Like in some ways, it's like he's one of these he's an old friend, and you may have had a falling out for a little while, but then you you made up, and you know how those friendships can be. Like seriously, it's like you're very, very happy that you've got that friendship back because you lost it for a while and you missed it. And that's what it is at this point. Casey's a valued Raptors alumni who has no hate towards us at this point. And I would trust him. And he's smart enough to understand, like, he wants the challenge of being the team president of the Raptors. Well, he'll do it. And in some ways, the other great thing is Casey knows Masai very, very intimately also. So he could very easily be saying, what would Masai do in that position? Because he worked with Masai for like almost a decade, guys. And the crazy thing was Masai didn't even hire him. He was hired by Brian Colangelo. And Masai gave him 8 years of coaching the team, even past that. It was weird because Masai was always kind of like, oh, I know Casey's not my guy, but you know, he's doing such a great job. Let's just not mess with it, Bobby. Let's not fire him just because I didn't hire him. This is not an ego stroke for me in some ways. It's like, no, let's let Casey be here. And in some ways, I'm sure Casey appreciated that because in some ways, when you have new ownership or new president or new anything, you're going to worry about them firing the people from before and bringing in their own people. But Masai gave Dwayne Casey a huge leash while he was here. And in fact, they could have fired Casey in 2014, but they didn't. They didn't fire him until 2018. So they gave him a lot of time, man. They gave him a lot of time. And I think that the fact that Masai was around Dwayne so much, Dwayne would understand the legacy and the importance of Masai and what he did, and maybe even steal some things off his sheet. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Reggie's saying this: Pacers traded for Jay Huff from Memphis. They're going with the center by committee approach. Plus, if they drop into the lottery, they get their 2026 pick back. Man, that's so crazy. It's like shifting gears. It's like the Celtics and the Pacers, two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference this past year, are going to try and shift gears into being a shitty team next year, it seems like, because of injuries to Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum. It is crazy. Yeah, Jay Huff, I don't think that's a needle pusher. Seriously, everybody coming to like Seymour is making jokes about it. It's like Lex is going to know who Jay Huff is now. Man, I don't see that as a needle pusher. Seriously, they might have been better off with toxic ass DeAndre Ayton in Indiana. I mean, Jay Huff may be a pretty good player. I don't know much about him, but I would say this: that's not a needle pusher to me, and that's not replacing Miles Turner. They needed a better level of a center to come in and take over the gravity and the position of Miles Turner. 10 years on the Pacers, and this isn't going to cut it right here. They might have been better off getting Sandro Mamu in the place of Miles Turner than this Jay Huff guy. Seriously, you guys tell me, is Sandro better than Jay Huff? Because I think he is. I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. Wayne's saying, I have no concern about Brandon Ingram outside the normal player health concerns. The care and methodology our front office put into our team construction is first class. That level of work produces results. Yeah, we got to make sure it fits. You can't be like the Suns, an overabundance of shooting guard or too much money spent at one position for the detriment of others, like the Lakers, who have so much money put into two players named Luka and LeBron that it's like, can you have anything for the rest of your team? Yeah, no, this is really part of the puzzle piece is understanding the whole big picture and having the money allocated in the right places to make sure you flesh out the whole entirety of what you need to have a team. And then you add in the dimension that the two teams that did the best in the playoffs this year and got the finals were deep teams that were like 10 or 12 deep. So how the hell do you do it? How do you balance having a superstar that can carry some next level players, your starters, and then filling it out with the bench where you can go 10 or 12 quality players deep that can help you in different ways? It's a really crazy, complicated puzzle. And in some ways, it's like a logic puzzle too. It's not just a puzzle with picture. You got to be logical about how you do it so that it makes sense, because you could screw yourself up if you do things a little bit too aggrandized or too big and huge schemes. Like I think that the Mikal Bridges trade for the Knicks was a big screw up because they mortgaged their future with draft picks to get a guy who's duplicitous on their team. Mikal Bridges is not that far off from OG Anunoby. And it's like, well, did you really want to invest that much capital and part of your team into that one position like that? In some ways, I mean, well, Knicks, okay, you go ahead. But in some ways, that didn't make sense to me logically. That was a problem right there. Yeah. We're going to have to see. I'm excited about Ingram coming. And seriously, Raptors Nation, don't make any judgments about who the Raptors are this season until you see Brandon Ingram play for the Raptors. That's what I would say right there. Yeah. Smith saying Kevin Nash is getting blowback online for his stance on the 4th of July and the big, beautiful bill. He's getting a lot of hate. Kevin Nash is a smart man. He's a very, very intelligent man. I have more respect for Kevin Nash as time goes on. He understands things. He's smart. He has his eyes open. In some ways, they've made it in vogue to hate on people that are dissenting now. And that's why in some ways, you guys, we got to continue to hold on to the truth and understand what right and wrong is. It's being perverted by MAGA forces to try and make it seem like what they're doing is right and just. It isn't. I'm sorry. Separating mothers from their children is never right and just. Feeding people to alligators is never right and just. Cutting health insurance for elderly people is not right and just. There's we can go over this all over the place. Now there's a little bit of more of because there's a victory lap because of this doomsday bill that a lot of the people on that side are like dancing around like they've accomplished something. You go ahead and dance around for misery and evil. And you're just as evil as the evil it will spawn if you're celebrating this shit right now. Yeah, Kevin Nash, power to you. You're a great man. You're a great man. Smith saying you can read what he said when you have time, Lex. I won't get into details, but he echoes you. Well, yeah, Nash and I are logically smart people, and we're brave people, and we know what's right and wrong. And in some ways, he's the antithesis of fucking Hogan and his stupid ass MAGA self. He's the antithesis of Kane and the Undertaker's stupid ass MAGA politics too. Kevin Nash, way more respect for you and Mick Foley and other people that have been outspoken in the right ways about this stuff. In some ways, it's dangerous to do it, but in some ways, you know, what are we going to do? How do we fight this? We got to still remember the truth, just like we want to remember Messiah. Well, we got to remember what society and the world was like pre Donald Trump, and understand that he can pervert the reality of the world with his own perceptions and trying to force them on people through fear and intimidation. But if you're truly a strong badass and you really are a true American or a person for freedom, you will hold your ground and you will stand for things. The cowards will run to the other side in scared ways and cower with them behind their backs. The strong will stand in the place where Kevin Nash and I stand, and we will resist. It's basically like that. All right, let me get into something. Let's do the straight goods on Canadian goods since we're bringing this up. Y'all, it's summertime. And people may be celebrating, whether it's celebrating holidays or celebrating birthdays or milestones or something like that. You might want to buy a cake. Well, I want to give you the straight goods on Canadian goods in the cake department, because cakes are out there that you can buy that are Canadian cakes. Sure, you can go to Baskin Robbins and get a ice cream cake ordered from them, but that's an American corporation and your money's going to America. Fuck Baskin Robbins. I used to work for them. I used to make those cakes. But no, go get a McCain's Deep and Delicious. Yeah, McCain's is a great food company here in Canada. It's a little corporate, but it is a cake that is manufactured in Canada by a Canadian-owned company. So you're much better off going to the grocery store and get yourself a McCain's Deep and Delicious cake to celebrate this summer. You're going to be celebrating. There's other companies I want to put on blast out of Ontario. They've got Chudley's. Chudley's Limited Cake is out of Milton, Ontario. And they bake pies in Ontario using Canadian-grown apples and ingredients. So you're getting Canadian-grown, Canadian-manufactured, Canadian-owned from Chudley's. Dan Go Cake Lab, that's out of Mississauga. And they're founded by the Master Chef champion of Canada. I forget his name. I guess his name's Dan or something. But yeah, you can get his cakes. Roselle Desserts, they're out of Toronto, and it's a dessert shop. And you can order a cake from Roselle, and that would be fantastic. San Remo Bakery. They're an Italian bakery in Toronto that have full Canada operations right across the country. So if you see the name San Remo, that's Toronto-based cakes that you can buy. Serrano Bakery, another one out of Toronto. It's a Greek bakery. It's entirely run out of Canada and primarily Canadian sources. So Serrano is another great name. Bobette and Bell. Bobette Bell is a cake company that it was not far from where I used to live in Leslieville. There's a Bobette and Bell on Queen Street, not far from Jones, and you could get fantastic cakes there. They're Canadian made. So, you know, let's buy Canadian and we can celebrate Canadian with Canadian cakes, y'all. Butter Baker, they're another local bakery in Toronto. Delices is a luxury Toronto-based dessert bar. You can get that. Cuento is a Filipino Canadian cake company. Cuento. Yeah, these are all great ones. La La Bake Shop. It's a Vietnamese-inspired bakery owned and operated out of Canada. These are all great cake alternatives than Baskin Robbins or whatever other American company. McCain's Deep and Delicious, Chudley's, Dan Go Cake, Roselle, San Remo, Serrano, Bobette and Bell, Butter Baker, Delices, Cuento, and La La Bake Shop. These are all way better. You can find them. Find them. You know, if you guys want to know where I'm getting my list from and you want my resource, here, I want to give you this link right now in the chat. And you guys can go look up any product that you're wanting to buy. It has them listed by product things. It's the Canada list. And it has them ranked on a scale of 1 to 10 on how supportive of Canada you're doing. All those companies I just named are 10s out of 10 for supporting Canada business. So yeah, check out the Canada list. And if there's a certain product, a certain type of product you're looking to buy, they can give you the list of the companies you can buy it from that are Canadian, which is fantastic. That's right. It's fantastic. Wayne's saying it's Sunday, and our duty is to call out the politics of white supremacy, of hate. Let right wingers expound any of their policies that bring joy and happiness to people. Just one policy. Name one. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of bullshit. Like the whole argument right now is that this bill is giving them tax breaks and stuff, but a lot of it's hidden and temporary. Some of it may be very good initially, like the no tax on tips, and maybe rebates are given. But this is just the stupid like little crumbs they're giving you while they rob you behind your back, like huge. So in some ways, they're going to do little acts of, oh, we're helping you, like Doug Ford sending checks to people all of a sudden. It's that kind of bullshit. It's like you're paying somebody off with $1,000 check, but you're absolutely screwing them over in the long term with your government policies and the way you're going in what direction. So yeah, let me distract you with a government check of $1,000 real quick, and it'll make you feel good temporarily and make you feel okay, but it'll supplant you for now. But in a couple months and a year from now, yeah, you're gonna feel the financials even harder, and there's not gonna be another check. That kind of shit. So yeah, I'm totally with you on this. I don't call out white supremacy. I'm gonna call out dangerous right wing fascism, which is going on right now. Fiercely saying, when I was a kid, I used to eat the marble cake from McCain Deep and Delicious. Now I feel like buying some, despite trying to reduce sugar intake. So thanks, Lex. I apologize, MJ. I shouldn't have brought up cakes, but I figure people are in celebrating mode. You need to get your Canadian cakes. But I apologize. I don't want anybody to go out and buy a cake just because I told you to buy a cake just for yourself. Make sure there's a special event and there's a reason. Maybe there's somebody in your life you need to buy a deep and delicious cake for, Fiercey, and you can bring it to them out of the goodness of your heart and then say, yeah, do you mind if I have a slice? And you get your cake then and eat it too. There you go. All right, let's keep going with the tabs I've got on here. Yeah, there were some summer league games yesterday. The Warriors beat the Lakers, the Heat beat the Spurs, and the Grizzlies beat the Thunder, and also the Sixers lost to the Jazz. So yeah, there were a couple games, but in the summer league, it's a California Classic and the Salt Lake Classic going on right now. With that, let's check out the Instagram stories. Vin Magnani is on the beach with his wife and his daughter, and he's just living a good life. He's got my Miss American Pie, brother Chevy to Levy. That's the song he's got playing on there. And there's a beautiful. He's back in stateside though. He was over in Asia for Basketball Without Borders. He's in Maui now. So he's in Hawaii. Yeah, lots of fun stuff with Eugene Marui. Always posting cool stuff and good motivational stuff. And he's got Drake talking about, I can't fix every rumor. If I did that, I wouldn't have any time to do anything. So I don't address everything. I don't talk about the rumors. What I'm gonna waste my time doing all that. And Eugene's got Drake's back on this. He's with him on that. I hear Drake's got a new song out saying what's been happening. Garrett Temple's and working out with his wife Kara, and they've got a whole series of workout clips. They're on the treadmill running. She's lifting. There's a lot of love, and they're calling each other twins. And they're, she's lifting, doing the heavy ball. They're doing the treadmill. They're doing all kinds of weight lifting. And Garrett and her are mimicking each other and doing the same workouts together. So pretty cool. Yeah, you see them. It's a cool insight to their relationship and also to the workout routines that the Temples do as far as things. Lots of weight training and balance, and also the treadmill. That treadmill, once it gets started, you got to watch out, because it might really make you fall off of it. You don't want to hit your head or anything. Jacoby Walters working out down in the States somewhere in the gym with his short hair. It's good to see Jacoby putting in the time in the gym right now. Coach Andrew Jones has got Ava B. Hoopin, definitely getting the shots in and putting it and growing. I'm telling you, Ava's growing. And then there's his son. He's being a goofy guy. He's being funny. Let's see. Scotty has been putting a lot of workout clips out lately. He's still going around the chair and taking threes. And the gym he's in, well, I like the fact in some ways, like he has the U.S. flag on the back. That's obviously he's down in the States. But I think it's also subliminal. Like he may be trying to send messages to Team USA that he wants to play for Team USA. that there's an American flag there and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't want it to be the other thing where he wants to play in the USA, but I want him to be maybe advocating that he wants to be on Team USA Olympic team. But yeah, Sky's putting in that work, and the shots are looking great. And he's really like, you guys, we're gonna be feeling so stupid. The detractors and people that are critical of Scotty Barnes, you're gonna feel so stupid this year. Watch, I'm gonna say that right now. You're gonna feel stupid about him. You're gonna feel stupid about RJ. You're gonna feel stupid about Brandon too. Manuel Quickly is with family and friends. He's out at Harvest Hands, and I don't know exactly what that is all about. But yeah, he's been filming clips of him working out and driving around, and yeah, him and Mobo were in the same run this week. So he is hanging around with other people. He's at the University of Miami, is where he's at. Colin Murray Boyles is in South Carolina at his alma mater still. Let's see what else we got with Raptors Instagram. Jamal Shed has got is that AJ Lawson getting interviewed? And Jamal Shed also. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. There's some lady interviewing them some questions. But yeah, there's your Instagram stories. The Raptors are mostly spread apart all over the US right now. You know, in some ways, maybe that's post Masai. It's like the Raptors would be all together in the same place under Masai, but right now they're all spread out all over the place. I mean, I guess this is the spread out time to be away from each other. But they're going to be back together again, probably starting this week at Las Vegas. And even the guys who aren't on the Summer League team will be there. I'll bet you money that Scotty, RJ, Emmanuel, and all these guys will show up and they will put in work in Las Vegas with the rookies and the Summer League team. Yep, I could see that. Wayne saying Chud Lights are basically my neighbors. Excellent staff, fantastic products, and healthy foods. Chud Lights? Was that one of the Chudleys? Chudleys? Yeah, Chudleys is on the list. You said that they're your neighbors. The Chudleys Limited in Milton. Very, very cool. Yeah, they make all their cakes from organic Canadian produce. And that's fantastic. That's great that you support them. Let's see Raptors Reddit saying this morning. Let's see. This one guy saying, this is the first time I've been excited for the season to start in years. Okay, where have you been? I don't understand you. You're weird. Let's see what else. There's the DeMar DeRozan highlight reel. I like that. There's the clip of Mobo and Quickly running up and down the court in a run this past week. They're asking, where will the Raptors finish in the standings, barring any major injuries? I say fourth or third. Seriously, I see fourth or third right now. An optimist take for every Raptor by Samson Folk. That's out right now. That's pretty good. Let's see. Somebody else is saying, to those saying fuck Rogers right now, what are you genuinely doing to distance from the guy and his business? Going to Bell? Yeah. Yeah, that's something you can do. Seriously, you can do this, guys. You can leave Rogers as much as possible. And you know what? Bell's not as bad at this point. I was mad at Bell and left Bell because they sold their shares to Rogers. But now that Bell's out, can we be mad at them for our ownership? No. And in fact, we should thank Bell because they make open gym. So I would say, yeah, go to Bell. I know Bell's not the best company either, and they're a monopoly and they're kind of a big juggernaut also. But the lesser of two evils at this point is Bell. So you can switch from Rogers to Bell anywhere you are. Seriously. So you do that. Do that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying you should do. All right, let's see what else we got. What's going on Blue Skies? Probably nothing that interesting as far as things. Yeah, they're talking more baseball and politics. Doug Smith's talking about Canada did not win the America Cup in the women's final. So USA won it. And yeah, it's too bad. But yeah, I think that USA beat Canada in the semifinal, and Canada's going to either play Argentina or Brazil for bronze today. So USA is going to the final round to play for a gold, and Canada will play against Argentina or Brazil for the bronze at the America Cup. And this is in the women's, the under women's group. Yeah, let's see what else we got. Happy birthday to Mohamedou Gay. Yeah, it's Mohamedou's birthday. He's 27 today. I'm not sure what team Mohamedou's on. I don't think he's on actually a Summer League team right now. I did go look at all the Summer League teams that are set up right now. Marquise Noel's playing for Milwaukee Bucks Summer League team. We do have a couple of former Raptors in the games that are coming up against us. Javon Freeman Liberty is going to be on the Chicago summer league team next week, our first game. In fact, I was looking at the rosters of the 4 teams that were slated to play in summer league, and I think the Bulls team is the toughest one, the first one we're going to play, because they got Buzelis. Buzelis is probably their best player on there, but they've also got some young players that are coming up with them too that absolutely look pretty tough. Let me go look at the rosters again real quick. I'll go over them a little bit because they're kind of interesting. So let's look at Chicago. Chicago's main players. Oh, yeah, of course, they've got Noah Senge as their draft pick from the lottery. So we'll have to see the French guy that we didn't pick. And some people were saying, but yeah, they have a very interesting Chicago Bulls Summer League team. Buzelis is probably their best player. Senge is pretty good too. They've also got Toronto's Josh Primo. Josh Primo is on the Summer League team for Chicago. Yeah, that guy, the guy with the therapist. Yeah, he's on the team. Also, Emmanuel Miller, the younger brother or the older brother of Leonard Miller, is going to be playing on the Chicago Bulls Summer League team. He's a good player. And also the kid, the Japanese kid from Memphis last year, Yuki. Yuki's on the Chicago Bulls Summer League team, along with Javon Freeman Liberty also. So it's going to be an interesting crew. I think with Buzelis and Noah Senge, that's a tough team. That can be very interesting to see how we play against them. I have a lot of respect for Emmanuel Miller also. And yeah, we'll have to see if JFL is on a revenge tour too. Yeah, looking at them a little bit there. Orlando's another team we're going to play. Their team's not as strong as the Bulls team to me. They're not going to have guys like Paulo and certain players available. But yeah, Orlando, the players that I see on there, there's not really any that really super stand out. Kyler Kelly, former Raptors 905, is on there. Jace Richardson, the son of Jason Richardson, who's their draft pick this year, he's going to be playing. Noah Penda, a second-round pick for them. But yeah, Tristan Da Silva is probably their most important player from last year, the rookie, who played pretty good for them. He's going to be probably the most dangerous player on the Summer League team for Orlando. Ethan Thompson also played for the Magic last year. But not a lot of players from their team last year coming back, and I see a lot of scrubs on this team. So we should run the Magic out the water with the connections and the time spent already with our Raptors Summer League team. I think the Bulls will be the harder team to beat, but the Magic could be interesting. Going back and looking at the Denver Nuggets, they're another team we're going to play, and they have an interesting team. They've got Westchester Knicks' Bo Buie is going to be out there. Deron Holmes will come back from injury, and he'll be available. He did not play at all last year. He was their big draft pick last year. He's going to be kind of the centerpiece for that whole team. Reese Beekman, who was on the Nets last year, he's going to be on that team. Keontae Johnson, who played for Greensboro Swarm last year. EJ Liddell. Yeah, it's a weird team. Hunter Tyson, who was on the Nuggets last year, along with Spencer Jones and Deron Holmes. Yeah, I don't think that the Nuggets team's that good, and we should be able to kick their ass too. So, and then finally, the Warriors are the other team we're going to play. They may be the second hardest team for us to play. I say the Bulls and the Warriors may be the two tougher teams. The Nuggets next, and the Magic will be easiest. But yeah, the Warriors have Canadian Jackson Rowe, who played on their team last year. They got the Australian guy Alex Tui, who is rumored to be playing for the Raptors or being drafted by the Raptors in the second-round pick, but he did not. Isaiah Mobley, the brother of Evan Mobley, is on the Warriors Summer League team. But yeah, most of this team is kind of for the most part. Looking at it, there's a lot of players that are like nobodies and just coming from Woodward. So kind of a pre-scout on the Summer Leagues before, very early before. And when we get closer to the first game on Friday against the Bulls, I will definitely be doing a full preview on that roster that I just mentioned once again with Yuki, Javon Freeman Liberty, Noah Senge, and Matas Buzelis. That's right, Matas Buzelis. Classic card. And Trevor's going to be in Vegas on Tuesday. Yeah, the fun there is going to start. There's all kinds of stuff before it, and there's going to be games before we actually play. So I think that they start playing the games on Wednesday in Vegas, but we don't actually get to start playing until – no, wait, they start the games on Thursday, and we play on the second day. Is what it's going to be. Fiercely saying, enjoy Vegas, Trevor J. Speaking of Marquise Noel, I unfollowed him, but did get a chance to see he got married last month. Congrats to him and his new bride. I didn't even know that. I unfollowed him too. So he married his girlfriend that he's been with for a long time. Yeah, she's been with that lady for a while. Cool Cat's here. Good morning, Raptor Free Crew. Happy Sunday. Summer league games are on. Enjoyed the games last night. The kids are all right. The future of the NBA is in good hands. I hope so. I just hope that the general future of everybody's in good hands. It's like in some ways we can worry about the future of the NBA and the whether the NBA products can be good, but let's just worry about the product of life and whether it's going to be any good, considering fascism's on the march south of the border of us right now. Somebody say, yeah, I'm happy the NBA's got a future that's bright. I just hope that everybody's future is bright in general. Because it won't matter if the NBA's future is bright if the world's devolving into chaos because of bullshit. So, I hate being a downer, but I have to be realistic and honest about very bad things that are happening in the world right now. Very, very, very bad things. All right. I guess it is time for a classic card. Trevor has called for it, and he shall get it. I still don't know why I shake the cards up. It's not like they're moving around. All right, here we go. This is a classic one. This is not a recent one. So classic heads, get on it right away. Here you go. Who is this classic card of the day? What a dopey guy. Yeah, goofy looking guy. You guys know the classic card of the day. If I pull it back too far, maybe you'll think it's a president of the Utah Jazz, maybe. Who is that classic card of the day? Right there. Who is it? Who is that? Yeah, let's see. Make sure you're live. Hit the live button. Some of y'all may be just a little bit behind me. I guess that happens. It's going to be that way sometimes. So hit the live button if you're here with me live right now. Danny Ainge is wrong. Isaac, that was the red herring. I said, oh, you're going to think this is the Utah president's card. No, it's not. Former Blue Jay Danny Ainge. This is a center, not a guard. So this guy is not playing guard. It says forward center on the bottom, actually. Brad Lohus is right. Slug Deezy's got it. Slug Deezy is in the house. A dominant classic card player. Brad Lohus. Yeah, this guy was one of those guys who was in the league. Maybe shouldn't have been in the league. Maybe in the league for affirmative action in the reverse. Yeah, this guy, they employed guys like this in the 80s NBA just because they had to have a quota. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it that way. All right, Brad Lohas is a 100-point card for Slug Deezy today on the classic card. Boom goes the dynamite. You want to talk about people that were in the league that didn't need to be in the league? Yeah, him and John Koncak. It's funny. Yesterday's classic card was Darius Baisley. And I was like, who's Darius Baisley even at this point? Well, he's on the Lakers Summer League team, guys. So he is actually still in the league, and he is trying to make the Lakers in Summer League right now. That's where Darius Baisley is. All right, Slug Deezy is the card, and it's 100 points for him, writing in the total. And I'll add it on to the master sheet with the grand totals of the Raptor Freak trivia. There you go. All right, I guess we'll try and finish things up. Do I even look at the top fans anymore? Top fan, Kaloy. Kaloy, your number one fan today. Dak Canadian, number 2, and Smooth Brown Man, number 3. There you go. There you go. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching the Raptor Freak stream. We'll get done a little bit early. I appreciate everybody for following the channel and subscribing. And also, if you join the channel, you're a member, like Isaac Campbell or somebody like that, thank you. Fiercey. Fiercey is definitely a member of this channel, and I appreciate her so much. I hope everybody has a good Sunday. Go get a good Canadian cake if you have to celebrate. And, just keep on keeping on. Try and be smart and positive and safe. And, let's try and hold on to the ideals and the principles of humanity as people try to pervert them into their own selfish reasons for why they want things to be a certain way. Subjugation of people, whether they're Palestinians, whether they're Jewish, whether they're immigrants, whether they're trans, whether they're Ukrainian, whether they're Sudanese, whether they're whatever around the world, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. Genocide and being awful to people because they're a group of people is absolutely racism, and it's absolutely deplorable. And the people that are engaged in those kind of activities are evil, and they are not on the side of Jesus Christ. I'm going to say that over and over again. If you're a MAGA, you're Antichrist at this point. You are Antichrist. And if you are fooling yourself into thinking, no, we're on the side of God and what is right and just, you are absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. That's right. Have a great day, everyone. Cool cat. Thank you. And there's a Darko on blast. I love that. Yeah, Coach Darko, you make us look good at the Athens Coaching Conference. That's right. Enjoy your day, fam. Thank you, Fiercely. Let's go.